Welcome back. Let's take a look at Module 6. Module 6, you're going to be doing 2 chapters here again. So in Module 6, you'll be studying Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. So please make sure that you allot the time to read both Chapters 7 and 8 and take the corresponding quizzes for both. We're going to move out of infancy and toddlerhood into early childhood. So here again, this is still time where the child is just doing so much growth and development. This is really not quite as much as the stage before, but still just a ton of stuff going on here. So you're going to see that reflected in the readings in the chapters. Chapter 7, we're going to focus on the physical development. As again, we're going to look at the brain and the body, and we're going to be looking at ways we can influence that. So things like motor development. So we're no longer going to be reaching and grabbing and pulling up. Now we're going to be skipping and hopping and rolling and things like that. So how do we help them to develop all of those skeletal and muscular things that they're going to need to be successful? So this is where the kids are hopping and jumping and a little bit wild, but we need that. We need them to have that activity so that they can develop the way that they should. Piaget is going to come into play again here. He is that theorist we looked at before that studied his children, as he's going to be focusing on the pre-operational stages of cognitive development. I love this guy's theory there. I think it's a lot of fun as we start to look at things. The reason I really like it is I see it in my own children. He does these little experiments where he talks about what they can understand, like things like reversibility. And I've actually done those with my children. I've done them with my nieces and nephews, and I kept the tapes and I kind of compared them later and show them as adults, or older. They're not adults yet, but as you see their personality and their temperament come through. And it's so much fun as we see that individual characteristics. My nephew, my mom was in the room, and he's trying to explain reversibility to her and explain that she is incorrect, that this is going to work, and he's sure it's going to work because of the size of the vessels. Ultimately, it doesn't work, and he's shocked. My daughter, on the other hand, who is very quiet and very guarded, she did the same thing, was sure she was right, ends up with water all over the table, and is just like shocked and concerned and distressed. So the same experiment implemented the same way, and yet we got very different results. So it's really fun to kind of see those different personalities coming through. Might be something you want to play with. Or you can apply to thinking about different kids that you've had or been exposed to and how they developed a little bit different. We're also going to be looking at the social cultural influences and the theories that surround that and how they come into play with how we grow and we develop in Chapter 7. And we'll also end up looking and taking a deeper look at the individual differences in language development. So by this point, we get to early childhood, language is starting to form for most children. How it forms, how the vocabulary forms, how vocal each child is, that's going to be a lot different for every child. So we're going to chance to kind of look at that and look at the importance of speaking to our children, not around our children, not to others, but to our children. Module 8, or Chapter 8 rather, is also really important. Here we're going to be looking, focusing a little bit more into the cognitive development. Erickson, we talked about him before, he shows up again. He's going to show up through the rest of the book. And he's going to be talking about the initiative versus guilt stage as we look at the social and emotional development of our children. We start to look at how they understand, what they understand, because they can now understand. They're not just hearing, but they're able to take that information and process it. So what happens when they start to understand? And we also look at their self-understanding. How do they understand in their interaction with that world and with that environment? This becomes that critical phase of initiative versus guilt. Are they going to be able to go out and take those chances, or are they going to feel bad and be afraid and hold back from those stages? So this is a really critical piece as we look at their emotional development and the best ways to support their emotional development. So it's, again, another action-packed module. I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing you in the threads.